So let's start. Good morning, everyone. Today we are thrilled to share with you our success story of our implementation of ChatGPT in one of our most recent projects called automated call logging. We are excited to take you along with us on our journey from the start till where we are now. But before we start, we would like to know you a bit better. So I would like to ask you all to stand up. And I have 3 statements based on the context of our talk today. Okay, perfect. The first statement is, are you using GPT on a daily basis? And then I'm talking about the chat interface. So if you do, you can keep standing, and if you don't, sit down. Okay. The next one is if you are using GPT in production. Yeah. Okay, so I see all of my colleagues from NN still standing. But the next one, the last one, are you using GPT in production on scale for at least 1,000 users simultaneously? Okay. Final one, because all my fellow NNers are still standing. If you're from NN, you have to sit down. Sad.
Okay.
So this is something what we expected, and that's what we are here for. So I think our talk will be interesting for you all. Because we do use GPT in production on scale since May 2023. And that's what our talk is about today. But first, let us introduce ourselves a bit. I am Romera, a data scientist within NN, the Customer and Digital Department, and I work there since March this year, so only 3 months. Personally, I think it's cool that we can work with the latest technology and implement that in all of our daily work.
Hi, my name is Nikki. I'm also a data scientist, and I've been working at NN for 5 years now, and I've also worked on the automated call logging project. Working as a data scientist, but now usually we're not working only the data science part anymore. We also have to do a part of the engineering to actually get it in production. So from that experience, I hope to tell you all about it.
Okay, first, I want to introduce NN to you, as there are people in the room that are not familiar with NN. So I have a bit of facts. It's founded in 178 years ago. We are over in 11 countries, have 16,000 employees, serving 20 million customers, and insurance and banking services in the Netherlands, and only insurance in the rest of Europe and in Japan. You can know us from brands like Nationale-Nederlanden, BeFrank, Ora, Movier, or ABN AMRO Insurances. But you might think that as an almost 180-year-old company, an insurance company, we might be somewhat old-fashioned, or stoffig, as we say in Dutch. But that's not true, because we are in fact working with the latest and greatest in tooling and implementing this technology in all our amazing use cases. And also where NN stands out is its focus on innovation. We are currently letting go of old legacy technology, and we're replacing this with new solutions to enhance services. And therefore, to accelerate these processes, NN has established international tech guilds. These are there to accelerate the development of skills and for knowledge sharing sessions. Well, that is a bit about NN. And then the funny story, how NN got in contact with AI. Well, I was wondering and thinking, how can I better introduce AI at NN to you than prompting GPT? So that's what I did. And it immediately responded in a way that I expected, because I already know. But it responded that we embraced ChatGPT for assisting call centers, employees, and taken lead by deploying a secure digital environment. But how did we get there? I will take you back to the end of 2021, where our Chief Analytics Officer, Cherry Smith, was reading a white paper about transformer models. And then he thought, whoa, that's cool. I want to do something with it. So he tried to contact the writers of the paper, which were OpenAI, to set up a meeting. However, they did not respond. So he got in contact with other tech suppliers, but none of them did even know what transformer models were. But until he reached Microsoft, they told him, we invested in a company, you may have never heard of it. It's OpenAI. That was the company he wanted to reach. So from that moment on, they set up a meeting, and his first question was that he asked, does your technology work on Dutch language sets? And the answer was, luckily for us, that they didn't know. And then they set up a meeting, and they wanted to that we could test it for them, and we presented our results, and after that we started a collaboration. So at the end of 2022, we were mentioned at Ignite by the CEO of OpenAI, which we were very proud of. And you can see our cool logo there on the bottom. But as NN wants to be a data-driven company and make scalable and repeatable solutions for everyone to use, we would like to, or have already, but then we would like to make this technology accessible for all employees. So in January 2023, we opened up the NN GPT playground for all employees to use. So we had no worries about our company data being open on the web, but it's secured within our own boundaries. The reason that we could set this up so quickly was because of we already have an ethical framework in place that tests all the AI solutions against our standards. And this is a pre-sorting on the AI Act based on the same 7 principles. And then we fast forward to May 2023, where we launched our first model with the use of ChatGPT, which was automated call logging. And what it is, how it works, and the challenges that came along is Nikki going to tell you all about. But first, we have an introductory video.
Bij Nationale Nederlanden komen jaarlijks 4 miljoen klantgesprekken binnen. Dus alle callcenters waarvan we nu in één staan, daar beantwoorden onze collega's al die klantvragen. Wat je je kan voorstellen is dat de focus natuurlijk vooral is op die klantvragen. Maar de vraag aan onze collega's is ook altijd om het gesprek daarna vast te leggen in onze systemen. En gemiddeld neemt dat ongeveer 5 minuten in beslag. Vanuit het strategieprogramma binnen Nationale Nederlanden hebben we verschillende werkstromen. En het call- en ops-optimalisatiestuk is daar één van. Binnen die werkstroom hebben we gekeken naar allerlei soorten initiatieven die bijdragen aan het verhogen van de klanttevredenheid, maar er ook voor zorgen dat onze processen sneller en efficiënter kunnen plaatsvinden. Een van die initiatieven is dat we hebben gekeken naar het genereren van automatische samenvattingen.
Wat we doen in die techniek is dat we tijdens het gesprek laten we al real-time een transcript meelopen. Dat betekent dat we spraak omzetten in tekst. En op het moment dat het gesprek met de klant afgelopen is, gaan we razendsnel dat transcript proberen samen te vatten.
En dan wens ik u nog een hele fijne dag toe.
Daar gebruiken we GPT-technologie voor. En op het moment dat die samenvatting klaar is, zorgen we ervoor dat dat in het CRM-systeem van de agent staat. Dus dat die binnen 10 seconden na het afronden van het gesprek ook daadwerkelijk ziet wat de geautomatiseerde samenvatting is. Het leukste van je werk is om klanten te helpen, je te focussen op het gesprek. En dat is precies waar automated call logging een bijdrage aan levert. Je hoeft als agent tijdens het gesprek niet aantekeningen te maken om die samenvatting te maken. Dus als agent kan je tijdens het gesprek je ook volledig concentreren op de inhoud van het gesprek en de klant zo goed mogelijk proberen te helpen.
Een ander voordeel is dat ieder mens ook op een eigen manier die samenvattingen opschrijft. En met GPT-3 zorgen we ervoor dat er ook een bepaalde vorm van standaardisatie in die samenvattingen terechtkomt, wat ons ook helpt met bijvoorbeeld verbeterinitiatieven. We zijn vooruitstrevend met deze technologie inzetten, zeker op deze schaal. Maar je ziet dan ook dat zoiets neerzetten bij NN en al die verschillende afdelingen en teams aan elkaar vastknopen niet makkelijk was. En ik ben dus ook wel trots dat we dit werkelijk in productie hebben weten te zetten.
that was in short the introduction to our project, and you saw as well our Chief Analytics Officer in the clip as well. And then receives over 4 million calls each year, and even though we try to move our customers through website portals where they can directly edit their information or even a digital assistant, a chatbot, people still like to just make a call, just talk to someone from NN. So that's why we receive still over 4 million calls. But there's a big opportunity for us there to improve efficiency and also improve customer satisfaction. As mentioned, on average, 5 minutes of agent call time is actually spent after the call. A couple of things they need to do. They need to update the CRM with the current information. Maybe something changed, address changed, policy changed. They need to create follow-up tests. Maybe there's a task for a different colleague or a different department. And finally, they have to create a summary of the call, a call log, containing what has been discussed during the call, what is the solution they come up with, and this is used for future reference for other colleagues or the next time this person contacts our contact center. The last part, that's what we actually automized. And we have seen in the first video what it's about. We want to show you a small demo of how it actually works. Unfortunately, we cannot show you the real demo as it is based on the Dutch language. So we have a Dutch speech-to-text engine, and we have a Dutch prompt, so that wouldn't work for our demo in English. So we have set up a small demo with some of our colleagues, and we have ChatGPT has created a conversation, example conversation. So disclaimer, not legally binding what you hear. It's created by ChatGPT. Let's listen.
Good afternoon. You've reached Nationale Nederlanden. How may I brighten your day with assistance?
Hi, I'm just here trying to navigate through car insurance options. It's a bit sunny outside, so that's a big plus. How's the weather on your end, actually?
It's actually quite pleasant over here too. Perfect for a relaxing walk during the break. Now let's dive into your car insurance queries. What would you like to know?
I'm a bit confused about the different types of car insurances you offer. Can you give me a quick rundown, maybe?
Of course, we have 3 types. WA is mandatory and covers damage to others. WA Plus includes damage from theft, fire, and nature. And WA All Risk covers all that plus damage to your own car.
Got it, thanks. And are there any specific situations where my car wouldn't be covered by your insurance?
Yeah, a few scenarios. If you rent out your car, you use it as a taxi, drive under the influence, engage in street racing, or if the driver has an invalid license, the insurance won't cover any incidents.
Makes sense. I heard something about the dashcam discount. How does that exactly work?
So if you have a dashcam installed in your car, you'll get a 2.5% discount on your premium, as it helps promote safer driving and can provide evidence in the case of incidents.
Ah, great. And does choosing a higher deductible affect my policy as well?
Yeah, indeed, it does. Opting for a higher deductible will reduce your policy amount, so you pay less in premiums, but a bit more if an incident occurs.
Thanks for clarifying that. You've been a great help for me.
Anytime. If you have more questions or need further assistance, feel free to call us back. Have a wonderful, sunny day.
Will do. Cheers.
Take care. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
And finally, we see the summary of the conversation. We noticed a couple of things. We see that the transcript, it was not perfect. It didn't recognize Nationale Nederlanden. I'm not sure if someone remembers what it actually said, but it said national needle on there. Yeah. Transcript engine doesn't know what is Nationale Nederlanden. But it was fixed by the prompt. as you can see here, because in the prompt we talk about Nationale Nederlanden, and so it was not a problem that the transcript was not perfect. What we did do is we separated the stream of the caller and the customer, because this is useful information for ChatGPT, which we will come back later. So it was fixed by the prompt. We have 5 bullet points. It removed all the chit-chat about the weather that happens in some of the calls, of course. And we have a summary that can be used. Well, it's not rocket science, but it's still pretty awesome, I think. And I think I hope you are interested in how we actually, behind the scenes, we made this work. Let's take a look at the technical infrastructure that's needed to set this up. There's a couple of things. So it starts all in the contact center. And at the start of the call, the audio stream is sent to a speech-to-text engine. The speech-to-text engine we use is external. Speech-to-text engine now is on a lot of cloud providers. You may have a Dutch speech-to-text engine as well, but it wasn't there yet. And in real time, it sends snippets to our WebSocket. That's just listening for all the transaction snippets. So interactions, like when the call starts, when it ends, and every couple of seconds, the snippets are sent from the agent and the customer. That is doing in real time. We have enhanced the speech-to-text engine also with some business language for accuracy, but we saw earlier it wasn't even a problem if you don't do that. And from the WebSocket, we sent our messages to the service bus. From there, the different messages go in different directions to the following functions. First, we make use of service buses and queues, and we have serverless functions. The first one is the message function. It just stores all the messages, the metadata, and the snippets in our storage. That's what it's doing during the call. And actually, the smart part starts after the call. First, we need to combine all the messages we get from the storage. We combine into one transcript, and we set in the next queue. And the next queue is the summary part. So once the call is ended, from the queue, the call end queue sends a signal to the summary function. It retrieves the whole transcript from the storage. It checks whether the transcript is long enough for an actual summary, because if it just was a short call or wasn't relevant, or it was only a put through to a different business unit, it might not be relevant for us to summarize, and the results will not be that good. So that's the first check. And then we send it, we use OpenAI. We have our private OpenAI resources. These are not accessible by Microsoft and by OpenAI, so our data is private, even for them. When we get back the summary, we even check still if it is indeed in Dutch. We had some issues with GPT not adhering to our Dutch prompting, so we do an additional check. And then it goes to the final queue. And in the final function, we send the summary to the API of the CRM system. We use different ones, so we can still use the singular system for different CRM systems. And there is the final part, that is we always have the human in the loop. The agent can still edit the summary. Maybe they want to edit some information that was not relevant or not really correct. And what we have seen is that currently 86% is directly accepted by the agent or accepted with a small adjustment. This has grown from, I think, 79% in the whole of last year. But I think this is a great number. We also had high scores on human readability, and most of the calls are summarized in the CRM system within 10 seconds. Because we have seen it's quite successful, we have some tips for implementation. So besides the infrastructure, which we showed you some inspiration for, maybe you have different way. Of course, there's many ways to do it. But we have some additional tips on how to make it a success. Our first problem that we encountered was that we were pushing the limits of what OpenAI was offering in the beginning, because we started this project a while ago. And we wanted to make it for 1,000 users on an average day. We were one of the early adopters, so there was a token per minute limit. We used DaVinci, that was the model even before GPT 3.5 Turbo. And you could only send 2 requests every second. And even that was sometimes not doable and a lot of timeouts. Where it's now you can send 1,400 requests per minute. So they have upgraded, luckily, their GPT limits. So we had to install a load balancer to divide the traffic and deal with all the timeouts. Of course, for GPT 3.5 Turbo, this is not a problem at the moment, but we see new models coming, and with those new models, we run into the same problems. And latency issues with GPT-4 still, so still something to keep in mind. If you have been working with GPT, and also what we saw in the keynote this morning, prompting affects the quality. So if the instructions are not clear, it's not going to end very well. We had a language-specific prompt. So for most of our calls are in Dutch, our transcripts are in Dutch, and we had Dutch GPT prompting, which worked better for us than just prompting in English and saying to GPT it should be replied in Dutch. We split the agent and the customer stream, as mentioned before. This is really useful information, otherwise it gets easily confused by who is saying what. And we gave GPT a role as an assistant to our contact center. Some of the tasks that we asked GPT in the prompt is to make it short, concise, include the reason for calling, the solution, the follow-up, filter the sensitive information, make it gender neutral, so it's not cannot be from the summary you cannot see which of your colleagues was on the line or which wrote or edited the summary, and give back in a couple of bullet points. And finally, there is the human factor. Because even if you set up your whole infrastructure and you think, okay, my prompting is awesome, I can handle all the requests, all the limits, still the agents have to work with it. And the user actually defines the success in this case. And what we saw happening in the last year is at first, they were happy. They thought, okay, I can focus on the customer call, I can just, I don't have to take notes or whatever. And later on, someone admitted they missed kind of their break, where they, summarized the call, took a little bit, think about what the follow-up task. So, and the other thing that we saw is they were quite critical of the outputs of the AI, because they were still editing the tiny details because, this should be in my summary, and they were not accepted, maybe it's just okay for future reference. So that was at first a little bit counterproductive, but I think now they're getting the hang of it, that to trust this is good enough. And we see quite often that process efficiency, It leads to a lot of resistance because people think, oh, my job is, AI is coming for me. And then the question is, how many employees did we actually let go because of introducing this system? The answer is none, because specifically in contact centers, there's a high inflow and outflow of employees. So what actually happened is that we had to reduce the number of open vacancies. So we didn't have to let go of any of the employees. So we see now after a year, they start to trust it. The summaries are more often directly accepted. And we also see that they are excited, the employees, about even further automation of their job with these kind of initiatives. I also asked GPT to make a catchphrase for itself, to say, okay, how can you convince us that AI is indeed the helpful assistant? And it came up with AI, the friendly cybernetic organism without the Terminator vibe. And AI, the droid army of help, minus the whole galactic conquesting. So you can also have a lot of fun, of course, with ChatGPT. Finally, Romera will tell us more about our future projects.
Yes, well, as Nikki told you, we learned a lot. The process of building our first ChatGPT-based application was a whole ride. And we can take all these learnings for building our next applications. And the first one we are currently developing is our email and call classification tool. Currently, we're building this tool because we have some legacy technology in production, which is high in maintenance, and we want to replace this with some easier maintainable tool. In short, the tool predicts based on the content of the email what it's about and what email box it should be directed to. Also, this classification model can be implemented for call, which will be a follow-up for the ACL, which is Nikki has told you about, where we will support the call agents even more, where based on the transcript of the call, the same classification will be made. The next project we are focusing on is entity extraction using GPT prompting, where we ask GPT to extract entities from text. Currently, we use regex models or Spacie to extract entities, but surnames or front names or street names or whatever cannot be extracted that easily, and GPT helps us a lot with this. So based on a more larger set of entities, lookup in the database for the correct customer belonging to a specific email can be done more easily. And the last one, I think the coolest one, sad that I'm not working on it, but it's a tool, the real-time knowledge push, which is a tool which helps agents during a phone call. The idea is that the tool, listens throughout the call with the agent and the customer and provides relevant knowledge articles about questions customers have or some information the agent should provide. So for instance, during the demo before, the agent should be provided with information about car insurances or what the information is about using a dash cam and their discount. So this way we can furthermore support our agents and assist the customer fully at once. So I think we ended a bit short. Then have time for questions, but this is it. I hope you got some insight in how we use ChatGPT, and you can convince your company to set this up as well. But for now, I would like
or if you want to use GPT in production, definitely come work for us. It's a lot of fun. So.
But for now, we would like to open the floor for some questions, and if you have something that will come up later, you can meet us at the booth.
Questions?
Test, yeah, still works. Thank you very much. So with all the data that you're gathering and all the calls that you're gathering, you do something with email or call classification, maybe even pattern recognizing, because the questions that will come to your service desk will not be that different over time, looking at the patterns. And even taking it one step further, and I didn't see that in the future programs, if you have these patterns available, you can actually flow that information back to your website to improve the answers that people are getting there, or even use the latest version of ChatGPT where the conversation is actually replacing the agent. Wow. So, what's in your future here?
I think, of course, we're experimenting with the AI replacing the whole, like the agent part of the conversation. It's still a bit tricky if we, of course, want to have AI provide answers directly to our customers, especially in the field we're in. But what we do see is we can give back feedback to the contact centers. We're also building the retrieval augmented generation system, so our own knowledge base where the employees of the contact center can ask questions, and then we can actually evaluate, okay, what are, for example, our employees in the contact center unsure about? What is a repeated question? So next to pushing that information during the call, which will improve efficiency, but also give feedback to the management of the team where information is lacking and these kind of things. So, is that okay? Thanks. Any other questions? Oh.
Did you use GPT as is? Like, do you only use the prompting to make sure you get what you need, or did you add training or something?
Yeah. So whether we fine-tuned the LLM. In this case, we just used GPT 3.5 Turbo out of the box. We have experimented in other projects with fine-tuning language model, which is, of course, exciting, but we saw that in this use case, it was not really needed, and the effort we put into fine-tuning a model, that didn't weigh up to the improved outcome. So, yeah. So definitely something we're experimenting with, and of course, there's also other LLMs. Maybe we're now seeing if we can use even a smaller language model. That's thanks. Oh, sorry.
Based on the diagram that we saw earlier, I would like to know more about the security side of it. Since it's a customer interaction, how do we differentiate the sensitive data does not get passed further where it is not supposed to be?
Yeah. Good question. Yeah, we left out all the security aspects in the presentation. We definitely did not leave out the security aspects in our actual architecture. We're actually not showing you everything because sometimes there are some hackers in the audience and they try to hack us. Don't do that. No, there's not information to do that. Not enough information, I guess. So the contact center and that was something we were, of course, already using. And as mentioned, this all goes through our private OpenAI deployment. So that is only visible to us. It's not even visible for Microsoft, the data we put in there, and not used by OpenAI to retrain their model. And we have, of course, our network security, transcription, all these things in place. That's any more questions? Sorry.
Can you say anything about the costs and the return of investment? You have more conversations, at the same time, huge amount of data going through the cloud and AI and GPT.
Yeah.
Is Is it cost efficient, or is that still the plan for the future?
I think my first answer as a data scientist, I don't really care. No, just kidding. No, no. Can you say something about it? We have someone that does care about cost, so.
So creating a summary on average with the use of GPT 3.5 Turbo, it costs about 6 cents. So, and that's up to you if you find it expensive or not.
But I think we think it's worth it, the overall efficiency. We saw something about standardization of the summaries, because we looked through the actual summaries that were created by the contact center employees. Very different. Some people just put keywords, and now we have consistent summaries, where it's easier for the employees. So. Not sure how much time.
6 cents, you know. Regarding these 6 cents, you know, if you're relying on this technology for a long time, then those 6 cents will rise probably a lot. So, what's NN doing with that?
Yeah, and I think this is the cost for 3.5. We're also experimenting with GPT-4, which is quite a bit more expensive. So yeah, it's indeed something we have to keep in mind. I think we have a lot of these processes at NN. We have a lot of employees, so at the end, I think it's still the trade-off is still worth it. Yeah.
You mentioned that it took around 5 minutes after call, I think, effort before you use this technology, but maybe I missed it. But did you measure the after call effort after using this technology, how much time it takes nowadays? And what is the impact to the number of people in the queue in your call center? Does it change it or not?
Unfortunately, I don't have the numbers ready for you. What we have seen overall, like first, it didn't have that big of an effect. Now we do see an effect, and that's something they constantly measure at the contact centers, of course. Yeah, that's. I don't have any actual numbers. Yeah. I guess that's it.
I guess that's it.
Thank you.